which meeting? Okay, you're right. Anybody else want to offer it?
Yes.
Yes. Sure. Which one's coming up?
We're not gonna,
Well, which one's 104? Which one's 105?
yeah, we have, wait a minute. Sorry.
The 104 is in your meeting.
104, Paul, okay. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'll offer it. As amended.
Yes.
Yes. Appointing administrator of substandard housing committee. Bruce, you want to speak to that? Please.
Sure, this is actually a position under the substandard housing section 10.42 of the borough ordinances. How this came about was part of the recovery from Hurricane Sandy will involve, or may involve, private property reuse. In order to fund that through a bond, we have this structure in place that the borough already has. We just need to build it.
And we're actually not putting anybody in that position, we're just creating a position by ordinance to tighten it up, correct?
So
We're naming,
We're
okay?
gonna have somebody tonight?
Okay, and we have to name someone tonight?
yes. You don't have to do it tonight.
Okay.
The mayoral appointment is
No, I bet we're going to approve it. Tim was waiting for recommendations too. You know, I'd like to. Please, yeah, the next meeting I'll finish.
This is community disaster loan. We did East Coast. That's in the process. Now that we've come up with this however, there are 7 new levels of review before this number will actually be approved.
Also to capture the potential. additional services I'd like to read. Got it?
No, I don't know if people agree with that. I
Okay.
don't see that as an issue. What we spoke about before. But these are things that we have to list going, but other people don't feel like they're going already. So that's really the best discussion we need to have. And then we can take the other way. Finish, add these items to the budget that we already have, and then move forward.
Thank you, Steve. I'll offer it, Karen.
I'll second that. Yes.
Yes. You're the best. So, who's going to speak to this? Please, Dan.
We received bids yesterday for the front garage. We received 3 bids. The lowest bid has to deal with construction at $110,955. We went to number 4, we got good experience.
No issues with them, right?
What's that?
No issues.
No issues on the floor. So, still it's subject to a 3 review. We weren't really subject to a group review. I gave them the copy of the cost.
Okay. Comments or questions from the table?
The bids are less than Exxon's commitment.
Well, that's not the commitment for our floor. So, we're right where we thought we would.
Should cover both?
Yeah. I mean, so I think that we're in good shape. Exxon has asked to see what the plans and then to be notified on the pre-con meeting.
And I spoke to Mr. Hell about that, definitely happening with the woods.
Don't blow it now, basically.
Exxon, they did, I spoke to Exxon while we were meeting and told them that they don't need to get to them. And so it's quite the timeframe to get it done.
The award tonight, tax gentlemen, give a notice of award, continue construction within a month. And then, keep it 2 weeks maybe for preparation.
Any other questions from the table? Let's go quickly with that. Yeah. No, let's go okay, I'll offer that, 13-109. Second. With, speak to attorney review. After attorney review. Subject to attorney review.
Yes.
Yes. I'll open the public hearing. I apologize. Okay. I'll offer it. Second it.
Mr. Francis?
No.
Ms. Kane? I'm sorry? Yes. Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
On for, that'll be for May 15th.
Thank you, Karen.
Moving on to committee reports, finance?
My report.
He's done, thank you, sir. Public safety, chief, you have anything for us?
Yes, I haven't had a council report because of our situation in the last couple of months, so I'll just give you some highlights. February 3rd, Gary Weissler, 18 of Navesink Avenue, was arrested, charged with 1 count of impersonating a police officer, criminal intent, several counts of burglary and criminal mischief. Bail was set at $57,000 and he was transported to Monmouth County Correctional Institution. February 5th, 2013, the Highlands Police Department responded to a reported shooting. Officers found 3 bullet holes in the side and front of a mobile home. On February 27th, Michael Stanslawski, 18 of Laurel Drive, Highlands, was charged with unlawful possession of a weapon. He was processed released on his own recognizance. February 24th, while Patrolman Siegel was on routine patrol, he observed a white male running down the highway and was also reported to responded to a report of a suspicious person who was spray painting. This was the case where they spray painted the bridge and signs and everything else. Michael Woodward, 39 of Davidson Avenue, Highlands, was arrested and charged with 14 counts of criminal mischief. The total damage was over $3,000. We are getting a problem with the prosecutor's office. They want to downgrade this to a disorderly persons offense. As a result of a cooperative investigation with Atlantic Highlands Police Department, Wayne Woods, 40 of Atlantic Highlands, was charged with 15 counts of criminal sexual contact. He's being housed at the Monmouth County Correctional Institution in lieu of $1 million bail. We did hire a dispatcher last meeting. He will start to be trained when we move into our semi-permanent office trailers in the very near future. We are currently looking for a special 2 officer. We have put out applications. We're waiting to get those back. The community-oriented policing services, which is commonly called a COPS grant, they have announced funding opportunities again. They will be accepting applications for hiring of additional police officers in an effort to create and preserve jobs and increase community policing and crime prevention. We have hired officers through this program before. If this is, well, I haven't gone through the details of this yet. We just got this. They will pay for an officer and the benefits for up to 3 years. I think this is something we should at least explore. In the next 3 years, we do stand to lose up to 4 officers. So I do think this was something we should really sit down and look into. Our Explorer program continues to be a great success. They helped park cars on Comcast Day. We are, Thursday and Friday of this week, are taking place with the School of Rude Awakening, Project Prom. It's designed to educate students on the efforts of alcohol and drunken driving. We do this every year. And that's about my report. I would like to reiterate, though, the COPS program, I really think we should sit down and go over that and explore the benefits of that.
Chief, could you send us all, something when you have it electronically about what it is, and so we can read up on it? If you don't mind, obviously, Mr. Hill, too.
I'll send it out to them.
Okay. And then, any recommendations? Obviously. Yeah, don't send it to Steve. He's got enough bad.
Steve's not getting it. Steve's not getting it.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Hill?
Hey, good evening. Basically, I'll give a quick update of various FEMA-related projects. We did send a letter out to FEMA formally requesting an extension for temporary facility use. That had to be done formally by April 30th because they're going to approve it, but because you're in temporary facilities for 6 months, they want to rubber stamp that. We've also sent files to recover an additional $422,284. That was based on the initial cost estimates that were sent out. That's about half of what we've already received on those initial estimates. So that paperwork has been filed. We should be hearing any day now in terms of getting that additional monies back in. There again, those were estimates of about $1.126 million that we put out initially for debris and relocation expenses. So if that number comes in, we'll be getting the full 75% back on that. As Lee had mentioned before, additional public works project application of about $455,000 has been submitted, 75% again on that end, and they've shifted some of the costs, because that was up over almost 600,000, but they're shifting those costs into other project worksheets. So FEMA has a way of breaking that out. So we're working on that. We're really working on the project worksheets daily. There's all kinds of information coming in as invoices are paid, and we're researching and making sure everything fits into the categories. Meeting with FEMA officials on Friday. They've set up a meeting to review additional technical support that may be available to the borough to address some of our additional concerns. Also, with the FEMA waterway debris removal project, it is still underway. We are seeking information on surveying our public bathing areas. There is a concern from the Department of Health on down on how that's going to be tended to. I've been in contact with the waterway debris removal project, and they've assured us that they've gone up and down our coastline, but they will come back in and do, pay a little more special attention, particularly to public bathing areas, and make sure that they're clear. As I mentioned too, the Workforce Development Program meeting I will be attending on Thursday for an update on what's happening with that particular program. Community buildings, the FEMA flood elevation certificates have been provided. We're working with our insurance company to get us some real solid numbers on what the costs are going to be moving forward. If we don't do anything. In other words, if we just go back to where we are with very little mitigation, we want to know what that's going to cost. I'm not saying that that's an option.
Not mitigation, but hazardous reduction.
Well, mitigation efforts and hazard reductions, it's,
How many?
you're
You don't
right.
have to mitigate like crazy.
Right.
Right, well, we may be doing that too, but we're going to work on that, and we're going to get some real costs so we can come to the table next week with some more information for options. Just so everyone's aware too, there's a community assessment program that's been authorized basically through the Monmouth County Long-Term Recovery Group in cooperation with United Way. Catholic Charities got a grant to come in and do community assessment for recovery. They're disaster recovery specialists. They're going to be engaged. They're coming to Highlands. They approached us about coming in. This is for anyone in the public who feels as though whatever system's in place, whether FEMA, SBA, local, you didn't get answers, you want more answers, you feel like you've been left out. Here's another group that's coming in with specific time frames on Saturday, May 4th. Let's see the time here. Saturday, May 4th, they're going to be at the TAC Towers from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday, May 6th, they're going to be at the TAC Towers from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And Tuesday, May 7th, they're going to be there from 12 noon to 7 p.m. The role of this group is not to come in and do assessment information that they're going to be sharing with us as a municipal government, but they're going to be taking specific information, and they're also going to be asking more specific, detailed information in terms of income eligibility and criteria, so that folks are eligible. They're going to then make sure that they can service them at another level. So I encourage anyone who feels as though they haven't been serviced or they have questions to take advantage of that particular program. They're only here for 2 weeks in Monmouth County, and that's it. They're coming in for the 2 weeks, they're going to do the assessments, and they're going to put it into the Monmouth County long-term recovery effort. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. I did attend a multi-state roundtable in New York City on April 17th. Representatives from the eastern coastal states, Mississippi and New York State were present. The main outcome of that session, and we don't have to tell folks here in this room, but they were really talking about smart building, smart rebuilding efforts, and how many communities from Florida on up really didn't pay attention to that after disasters. So that came out as one of the things that, from experiences down south and across the Midwest, that we really want to pay attention to. So I don't think we have to say that anymore, but it's really critical that we look at smart rebuilding efforts along the Jersey Shore. Two more items. DPW, we do have bulk pickup scheduled for June. The DPW guys have asked me, and Future Sanitation has asked me repeatedly to remind residents that bulk debris is not to be put out haphazardly during your normal collection days. People, I guess, in general feel as though anything that they can put out at the curb should be thrown out there, and that's really not the way it's supposed to work. So we're going to give everyone opportunities again. Want to get the word out in public, though. Bulk pickup is bulk pickup. If you have special bulk pickup needs, you can get a permit. That's a different situation, but we're seeing a tendency again for folks just to put a lot of debris out with their regular garbage, and Future Sanitation is not going to pick it up, and we're going to have to go into issuing citations. The hazmat material removal, we do have a contract in place, a purchase order that will be happening, I think, probably next week. So the hazmat materials down to Public Works Yard will be removed in one fell swoop, so to speak. Building and housing, code enforcement had 45 inspections done in April. In addition, approximately 170 properties have been identified as needing some type of deep debris removal. So that could be a gamut of many, but that's 170 properties have been identified. So we need to get a handle on that. Construction office, 237 permits were issued from January to March, and then in April, another 53 permits were issued in April. In April, there were 304 building and electrical inspections completed, 127 plumbing inspections completed, and 27 that required the fire inspector services. Solution Center on a whole, 384 people were assisted through the month of March, through the end of March through April. Other than that, and I don't know if we'll touch on it later, but I believe the Atlantic Highlands Regional Sewage Authority, the Force Main project, may be taking place soon. I don't know, Chris, if you have any updates on that, but
They're drilling under, hydraulic jack drilling under the highway tomorrow.
You sent them up there.
so
Setting that
they
up.
will be putting out a work schedule eventually, but they are starting
You
under the
should have-
highway. We
you
got a
should have-
draft only.
Huh?
We got a draft only with nothing plugged in.
On the notices?
Yep, unless it came late today. What I got was a draft with no information, but I talked to Dave about that, about getting that information in there.
Okay.
Sooner than later.
I think, okay, I'll check.
Yeah,
I got something, I thought it was the real notices.
You got it, send it, and put it on the website.
yeah, if it wasn't, but anyway, there is gonna be a project going on, and then it will be impacting Buttermilk Valley going down on the long term, so we'll have the work schedule, and there are notices that they would like us to post, but it's gotta have the information of the construction schedule in there. Last thing I have, Mayor, is the Memorial Day Parade is gonna take place, from what I understand, in contact with the American Legion. There was this discussion of parade, not parade, and they're the folks that put the parade together, and they decided they want to go forward with the parade. I would like to invite everyone and encourage everyone to participate in that event. It is May, I'll probably say the wrong date, I think it's May 26th. Is that the Saturday, the last Saturday in
you're right.
May? So we want to make sure that
28th is Monday.
we support that program. Other than that, Mayor, that's all I have for tonight.
What is the status of the phones?
Do you know what time it's at, parade?
Let me answer that one first, 1 o'clock. Secondly, some phones were delivered today. So the tech guys are coming tomorrow. We're going to be working with the technical end of installing. Not making any guarantees from here. The phones are delivered. I hope
So
they
you get
pick
your
up.
temporary
and we
permanent
can
place,
bring-
or your permanent
We're
temporary.
hoping they're
place,
all in
whatever you want.
tomorrow. So hopefully, Chris, within a couple days, we'll be.
Then you gotta make sure you clean up your temporary home.
Yeah, Becky will be
Now,
coming
why
to
did
get
you-
you.
25th is a Saturday.
25th? Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Ms. Ryan of the library?
Yes, on the Borough Library, that will be reopening, we all know that, when the community center reopens, which we hope will be very soon. However, with the little free library, I want to tell you that it went up today, with the cooperation very quickly of Carla Cefalo, who gave an okay and gave us the base, and the BPW, and Ken Haber from the baking company in the Waterwitch. It is on the street, right by, in the garden, the baking company, the Waterwitch, and Cranky's, and it'll be up and operating this weekend, and I'll talk to you later, Melissa, but it's very cute, check it out. Okay, it's a free lending library. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Highlands Business Partnership. Carla?
I guess I'll do Hope for Highlands, old business first.
Okay, then a recap of
Yeah.
Comcast.
So the Hope for Highlands continues to meet on Thursday evenings, the subcommittee, independent subcommittee, and we're continually raising funds to distribute to the material grant program. I just want people to know that if you sent one in and you haven't received the $1,000 reimbursement check yet, we are not out of funds. We continue to raise money. We received a $15,000 donation from Care One last week that was, is going to be used for that program. We received another $10,000 donation. We continue to raise money for the original material grant reimbursement program. So we do have funds available. We have about 32 people on the waiting list, and they're being processed weekly as people submit their documentation, and then we recall them if they're missing documentation. The committee calls them, gets their proof of payment in, and then we cut the checks. So that is still in effect. Just wanted to say that some people that make a donation earmark their donation. where they want their donation to go. So sometimes it's out of the committee's hands where a donation is allocated to. So I just want to mention that in case sometimes people ask, why
Questions
we're-
come up, right?
Yeah, why we're allocating money for certain things. It's because the person who made the donation actually requests that their money go towards a specific purpose. Also, regarding the Robin Hood grant money, the $250,000, $50,000 earmarked for case management and construction inspector for the housing rehab. We put together a housing rehab program, which I've been working with Mr. Hill on the forms, and we put a whole package together. We role modeled that after the DCA housing rehab program, so that residents could get code compliant. The grant will be $5,000 minimum, and if it's over that, it has to be approved by Robin Hood. They would like for us to help minimum of 40 residents with that amount of money. So we are going to be doing a program where you can put in for furnace, electric, heating, anything that's going to make code compliant. What we learned by doing a lot of the work with the Hope for Highlands Committee in the first program is that a lot of people, sheetrock and all these other things were very good and helpful, but people actually need heating and electric. A lot of people still don't have that. So anything to do with the heating, the plumbing, kitchen, bathroom, they'll be eligible using the Robin Hood guidelines. They stipulate the guidelines in their grant agreement of low to moderate income families. So we hired a case manager, Sarah Goma, who's also on this long-term recovery committee, and she's going to be starting probably next week in the Solutions Center on the second floor for now, and we'll have a brochure ready, and we'll start advertising the program so that people can come. It's going to be also on a first come, first served basis, and there's a checklist of information that people will have to bring, mail in or bring in to the case manager, get an appointment. She'll be doing site visits so that people can apply for that grant money. We are under a strict deadline for time, so we really need her time to be focused strictly on that program right now and nothing else, because, I've been speaking with our Robin Hood representative, and they really want us to start spending money and getting the program moving and wrapped up as quickly as we can. So with that being said, I think we also had a lot of the paint donated, for, and we'll get into Comcast Day. But, so I think there's a lot of donations coming in, resources that are going to be available, and we're still planning to keep, raising funds and distributing funds, as quickly as we can. And then the Highlands Business Partnership, the Marketing and Events Committee, we've, in full force planning our regular routine calendar of events. We thought maybe we'd be down in light of the hurricane, but actually people are signing up as though nothing has ever happened. So that was really encouraging for our programs. We received, we had Comcast Day, Comcast Cares, national initiative where every year they go into a community, they select a community. So thank you to the Mayor and Council for, helping get recognition for Highlands. And they made a $25,000 donation to the Highlands Business Partnership. They were already one of our sponsors for over a decade. They were actually one of our first corporate sponsors. So they increased the money and provided volunteers. They said we had 500 volunteers registered in their database, but we estimated close to about 300 actually showing up. And we based that on the food that we had in the park. So anyway, the volunteers were dispersed into various projects. We partnered with Sherwin-Williams, who provided paint, and Inlet Cafe, Chilango's, Heart of Fresh Cafe, HBP Shore Graphics, and 3 homes are allocated to be painted, but only 2 actually got painted. The third is going to be done, they just weren't ready. So we partnered with Sherwin-Williams, and they came out and really made a difference. The volunteers cleaned up. Comcast purchased an additional $2,000 worth of flowers, and worked with the garden club in Veterans Park and Cornwall Square and Green Place. So that was a really good initiative, and thank you to the garden club, because I know they probably got stuck doing most of the work. But it was a real, overall, a great day. We had a lot of PR. We're still seeing a lot of videos and articles coming our way. So I think it's really, we'll reap the benefits for a long time to come. And
Raymore and Flanagan first couple houses too, very quiet.
yeah. So it really made a difference to people. And, we're still actually doing some of the work that's left over from the day. The donation is going to be used, for marketing. Our sponsorship is going to be used as it regularly would, and some of it, we made a donation towards the Sandy Playground Project. And the Sandy Playground Project, Highlands has been adopted by Daniel Barden's family, and we have the information on file. So we made a donation towards the playground, and we're aggressively raising money right now, so that we need $33,000 to actually order the equipment. Again, a lot of people say, well, how come, we're working on that? Again, people earmark where they want their money to go. So that's going to be, we're going to have the existing swings in Veterans Park, and then this would be in addition, the playground there. Another memorial, spoke to Mr. Mandel about it. And, so it's going to be, the sign that was originally going to be donated to Veterans Park is also underway. We just received a draft copy of it, getting all the sponsors on the sign, so we'll be forwarding that to Mayor and Council, and it's very beautiful. It's a veteran sign, and that would
Is that going to be on like the side
a
of
nice
the marina?
addition to the park.
That's on the marina side we plan on putting that?
Yeah, that's where originally.
We talked about that,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I haven't seen the
I know it's
plan
gone,
yet,
yeah,
but I know I'm
yeah.
gonna see the plan.
That's where.
Let's not get committed, let's talk about where that placement is.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
No, I hear you.
Sign. Sign.
I'm gonna get the plan before it's,
Yeah, actually, you guys already told us where it had to be, last year. And
I know we talked about it for sure.
Yeah, it is over by
Before the
the
hurricane.
marina, because we
Right.
walked the site with the sign fabric.
Right, I remember us
That's
talking about
over
it.
by
I thought we
the-
said right near where the gate ends at the
Yeah.
beginning of the building, right, babe?
But you guys will get
Right.
a draft, picture of it. It looks beautiful, and that would be a nice addition to the park as well. The members of the New Jersey Firemen's Benevolent Association removed the boardwalk at Veterans Park, and
With a lot of local volunteers too.
a lot of other volunteers from Comcast Cares and our community, and hopefully we'll be able to raise enough money to replace the boardwalk in the very near future. That's one of our goals. And what else? I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared. Do you have a
Quick
question?
check, quick check.
Quick check.
Needs to be,
Yes,
big shout out.
absolutely. They did a tremendous job donating all of the day's snacks and coffee. They also gave out $3,000 worth of $5
Yep.
gift cards. They're trying to encourage their gas sales, so everybody that needs gas, they're trying to, hoping that the gift cards would go towards gas sales. And they really are an excellent partner in the community.
Yep.
They're there for our Twin Lakes Ride, they're there for other events, and,
Can't wait to see the to go up there and then we'll
yeah.
have drug prescriptions down for the next volunteer day. What do you think?
I'm gonna go cheap on that one. Holy cow. You better put that grand in for 2 tops.
Cumberland open too.
Two of them.
Maybe just Hartford.
Cumberland had a grand opening. We continue to participate in the state.
Tom Arnone came for that, right?
I'm sorry.
Was Tom Arnone here for that?
Yeah. We continue to participate with the state's Open for Business campaign, And we have all the businesses on the website. As they open, we add them. You know, a lot of people are going to be opening in the next couple of weeks. Inlet Cafe will be open for Mother's Day. Chilango's will be reopening. Grimaldi's will be reopening in the near future. We're hoping all three of them will be open, you know, by Memorial Day weekend. So again, we just encourage everybody to shop local, keep all of the money in our community. And,
And how's everything for the craft show? Same amount of vendors?
yeah, everything's
That's
really
good.
surprising that people are signing up.
Good sign, right?
Yeah, it's a good sign for sure. We're also, we bought a billboard campaign, so we're gonna have 6 consecutive billboards for various events throughout, through October, and then on the off time, when we're not gonna use it for an event, we'll have it for Hope for Highlands, or, you know, a message for the community.
And I went to the county office in Neptune, they opened up those satellite offices, and I had them drop off some grow mamas
Mhm.
here, so there's some in the Solution Center, there's some in the temporary borough trailer. I didn't know if we got some and they had gotten damaged.
And thank you for saying that, because you just reminded me, I was invited to serve on the Monmouth County Tourism Council, and Monday night was our first meeting at that office, and there was representation there. It was,
Who chairs that, Carl?
It was, well, Jeannie DeYoung from the tourism, from the county employee, and it was Serena Damaso and Tom Arnone. The invitation for me to serve on that council was from Tom Arnone's office. And he actually recognized Highlands and the Sandy project that he was just here, and there was great representation from every town. You know, it was really unbelievable, and I think the Jersey Shore really is bouncing back better than ever, because everybody that did have beach passes for sale, actually their sales were the highest ever. All the towns that had free beach sales, beach pass sales, it was higher than ever.
So did you tell them to come here, so this is already
Yeah.
right?
And of course, the Sandy Hook opened today, so we're very excited about that.
That's all when Ryan was there.
And Tim.
Tim was there too, right? So you're
That was this morning already.
part of what they cut?
Yeah, this is the
It's not the
ribbon.
French flag.
This is the ribbon.
And then,
That's what it was.
the most
That's
important
what I
thing
thought
that I think is critical, and I brought a copy, so hopefully, Carolyn, maybe you can have copies at the Solution Center at the borough. I received the grant application at 5 o'clock for the CDBG money for the business grant, Stronger New Jersey Business Grant Application Overview and the application. So it's pretty intense, and.
You're gonna send that out to your people via
I
email
have
too?
already sent it to
Good,
everybody,
okay,
and we're actually gonna try to put together, we said if anybody needs help.
Can you
filling
send it to
out.
Carolyn electronically and Tim, just so?
Yeah,
Solution
you guys
Center,
are
yeah.
on the,
Count mayor and council.
HVP member list, so you.
Send it to us too, right?
I did,
Thank
I
you.
sent it out like probably 6 o'clock,
Okay.
5:30, 6 o'clock. So, we're also gonna try to put together a workshop if any of our businesses need help.
Good idea.
Doing the paperwork, so we're gonna get that set up as quickly as possible.
Good idea.
Great.
So, you know, and try to really, you know, put the applications together in more of a tourism-related fashion for some of the businesses with the restaurant anchors and stuff, because they say that there'll be preference.
And as it really opened full blown, it's real important to get that. Like we talked about, get
Yeah.
that out there.
So,
Especially like a Chilango's, like,
Yeah.
because people come here for that.
I think.
Thank you, Carla.
Thanks,
Shared
Paula.
service, I don't have anything right now.
Well, just the sewer authority,
Winding down.
we're closing, turning the lights off, December 31st.
Of this year.
Yep. Steve, I'll work with you and we'll come up with a budget going forward based on what we know now.
Well, our budget for 13,
I saw Tom Fallon sent you some, right?
right, since we're
Some
going to be intact, since we're really not going to be impacted till 1/1/14, it's 14 budget that we need to.
Well, it's I want to, at this point, kind of get a heads up on the reduction in sewer costs based on just the dissolution, to getting our plans to
Move
sell
forward,
it.
right.
Right. At this point, there'll be an interim rate reduction based on saving $300,000.
Saving the overhead, obviously.
Right. So you and I will work on that.
He's not convinced of that, I can see that.
He will become convinced.
Well, convention.
Yeah, let's fight that fight later.
Yeah.
Okay, other business?
Discussions regarding challenging the FEMA rules.
I put this on.
Go ahead, my friend.
I've been talking with several residents, and at this point, they keep asking about, at this point, what is the town doing relative to challenging the FEMA rules in terms of elevations and the B zones? And I know we had some information that Dale has been, is convinced, and at this point, he has unofficial information that the B zone will get rolled back. But at this point, who in Highlands has officially presented Highlands' desires? And from my point of view, I don't think anybody has. We all have brought it up individually to our political contacts, to the FEMA people we've talked about, but I don't know that Highlands is on record as opposing the current maps. And,
Height or V zone or both?
well, but at this point, both.
Okay.
And I don't think Highlands is on record anywhere. It's in FEMA's eyes.
Not in public, I agree with you.
And
Private
that's,
conversation.
and yes, and that's my point, is we need to get on record public, and whether it's the chairman of the planning board to do it, I mean, I don't want to load Tim, so that's not,
I'll be copied.
I think the answer is twofold. One, I think the height, from what they told us on Monday, briefly, the new map's coming out. They're gonna probably change most of downtown away from a B zone again, but the height is gonna stay 14. So do we wanna challenge both? Do we wanna reinforce that we believe it's not a V zone, citing Seabright as not having a V zone in other surrounding communities?
absolutely, because that's what we all
So
believe.
you wanna challenge the 14 foot also, is what you're saying?
If I could weigh in a little bit,
Since Seabright is 8, yes, we need to challenge the 14.
right now, there is a portion of Seabright that does have a velocity zone down on the one end, not a large area.
No.
There's a small area. With these maps that are out now, here's what I would say. Now, I know we tabled the last meeting, but,
Because we got word these new maps. will-
right, those maps, what that did is that prohibited those from moving forward, to move forward, because the zoning
agree.
regs attached to it. What the misconception was that was brought out was the ABFEs don't have any impact on the insurance whatsoever. Even the ABFE maps at 14, that does not affect the insurance rates, because they can't raise the insurance rates on those elevations until the advisory goes away. So what I would
That's almost
say,
2 years, right?
right, what I would say is this, is when the maps roll out, the new maps roll out, let's see where they are. Like Chris had made mention of, FEMA's giving me good indication that a lot of the V zone is going to revert back to an A zone. Not everywhere, but a lot of it. And they haven't given me exact parameters. I would say, because right now, if you come out and post these maps, to me, it's not really going to do much. It's when those actual maps roll out, based on what they studied, so on and so forth, that to me is where the challenge is going to be. If we want to challenge those maps, I would say,
You're talking about the next set that comes
yes,
out.
I would say challenge those, but keep these in play, because by not adopting these two, it's actually holding people up from getting ICC money too.
I agree.
So let's keep these.
Well, you're, at this point, you're discussing multiple things. At this point, my concern right now is Highlands needs to be on record with FEMA in the public comment period. Someone representing Highlands has to be writing a letter saying, we oppose, with some degree of knowledge about the situation, which is why I can't write it, or us on the council.
Right.
It has, in my mind, it's Andrew has to write it as chairman of planning, or we could delegate to TNF.
Do we oppose the 14 acres? I personally don't. Because I saw, I don't. Me personally, I don't have 5 votes, I have 1.
Since I'm a 12-footer.
And you didn't, but you have it on your bottom floors,
No,
underneath your house,
I have insulation between the first floor and the bottom of the,
right?
and I had no water.
Okay.
So-
How close was it?
Huh?
How close was it?
8 inches.
Okay, so less than a foot.
All right, so I agree with you.
I
At
mean,
this
I got
point,
wiped out, Kevin, you got wiped
Yeah.
out. I mean, I saw it firsthand. I don't,
the reality is this 14-foot, it doesn't matter what we set our rule at.
Mhm.
Because at this point, the firm map is gonna come out regardless of what our ordinance is, all right? Our ordinance has to follow FEMA guidelines for us to be included in the CRS program.
right.
We have to comply. So, that's why our ordinance has to be 14,
Right.
all right? if we can get FEMA to change it to
12.
12,
Then it automatically.
we're still, you know, our ordinance doesn't have to get changed, it's just,
Right.
it makes some of the
But people are
burden.
gonna
We go with their number, whatever their number is, we go to their number. We don't
Right.
list a number, we go to what the BFE's.
And the number
state.
now is 14.
It's 14.
Right now, it's 14 in most of the towns.
I'm really more concerned with the V zone.
I agree with that.
And I think that's
going
what
away
we-
Anyway,
Well,
in this calendar month.
okay,
That's what we were.
But what that does too is that also DEP's got very strict guidelines on building in a V zone. You know, they don't want commercial, they frown on multifamily. So if you go back to an A zone and that all that's back in play again, and that helps out Bay Avenue, obviously, it helps out the business corridor. It helps out a lot of things that,
Well, that's how you
the
get that
future
too,
of,
sure, exactly.
our downtown. So I would say if those maps are rolling back out with A zones, let's see where they come in, and then, I mean,
And then wait.
right, wait to see what they do. If you guys want to go on record now and say, listen, you know, we're concerned about the 14, but there's no sense in challenging an advisory considering that
well, the public comment period has started already.
not on the new maps yet.
Huh?
Not
On
on
the
the-
new maps, yes,
No, they haven't. How can you comment on it? You haven't seen them.
because the public comment period is about the ABFEs.
About the ABFEs, yes, understood. But they have said that they rolled those out conservatively, saying they want to give people that have the resources to build, give them a number.
Who's gonna be representing Highlands in front of FEMA at this point? Is it Tim? Is it Dale? Is it
It could be.
the planning board?
It could be all three of us. It could be me. It doesn't matter. Whatever you guys want to do is fine.
I just don't, it could fall through the cracks. We all have a conversation.
No, understood. I've in writing, I've gone out to DEP expressing my concerns.
Andrew has also,
Right.
but I don't know in his status as planning board or representing Highlands.
Understood.
No.
And they, you know, basically the word that came back was sit tight, wait till the new maps roll out and see what you got.
I have no problem challenging the V zone. I don't know if I want to challenge 14. But
Well, let's challenge the V zone.
I don't have any problem with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That helps a lot of things. You know, the other side of the coin.
And I think, I'm sorry, after 14, people have already started to
I agree.
build, I mean,
Yeah.
some
What
people
happens
already
is
have.
And I personally am not somebody
Are
that
going
thinks that this is
14.
not a, that this is not
So
something
they're
that's
gonna
not
go
going to
for
happen
next
again.
month,
My
they're gonna
opinion.
raise 11 and 12 around 10. 14 might not be a bad number.
I don't think 14 is a bad number, because you want everybody to do like Chris did, which was have, you know, a foot underneath and not a bad.
existing A zones well.
I don't know, I'd have to say. I'm staying with that, but I don't think it will be elevation.
So who's gonna write the letters?
If you
Well,
want,
let's
if you want an
agree on
official
what
letter
it
written, I can certainly do that if you
Does
want
everybody
as
in
the
favor
floodplain
agree
administrator.
to challenge the V zone and not the 14 feet?
Yes,
I want to challenge the rezone and not the 14 feet.
I agree with that.
Okay. Write the letter.
Sure.
Signed by you, Tim, and Andrew.
No problem.
How's that? Okay, review of local finance notice.
This notice was only in the package as backup to resolution R 1306.
So it's
So
good.
there's nothing to
Okay.
discuss.
Dale, North Street pump station plans.
That was something Mr. Francie wanted to talk about.
I looked at the plans that Dale gave to us at last meeting. I think it's, the pump plans as presented are problematic at this point. You've got an 18-foot structure, full width of the street, at the end of the street, it dwarfs the houses right next to it. It's a much larger station than was existing, and Dale and I talked about this the other day, and I would propose that we ask Dale to revise the plans to basically, his plans are building for the future, all right? And at this point, the future could be some time off. That we ask, at this point, below the base level of 6 feet, that is the structure that's in the ground, that's good to go. Size the pumps for the existing pump, which is about a 6,000 GPM, which can be serviced, you were gonna look it up?
Yeah.
By our existing generators, and then just have no pump house, but just have a control package that is submersible, all right? And get this going.
Right. My
And and at this point, the urgency is we're paying $9,500 a month for that pump at the end of the street.
Agreed. The pump, the station itself was designed for that whole watershed, as you know, we talked about, the whole North Street watershed. If those pipes were clear, which we know they're not down North Street, if the pipe behind Billy Shays was sized properly, it would accept that water that comes down. Obviously, we have a bunch of choking hazards, so to speak, that keeps that water from away. So what we did is we designed it to that watershed. It doesn't mean that you guys have to abide by that. This is something that we said, okay, if you're going to do this, do it once. We can certainly remove a pump. That'll save, probably about maybe $250,000.
How much have we spent down there, say in the last 5 years, on redoing that pump over and over from damage?
I'd have to go back and look.
That's the problem.
We haven't spent any money down there?
Not really, I mean, at this
We had
point-
some electric
Yeah,
changes,
$2,000 or
but
$3,000, that kind
yeah,
of
it's-
thing. Yeah.
it was just maintenance. But before the storm, I mean, we identified there was many things wrong with that station itself and needed probably about $50,000 in repairs. My only other concern is this: we designed that station to codes and standards to get FEMA reimbursement. I have to be careful to make sure we don't get away from that, so we don't wind up paying and not get reimbursed at all.
Everything is submersible, that's why it would be compliant.
Exactly, but Tim and I actually asked Arcadis just to kind of get their input on it too, because obviously, we want to get the most money we can get back reimbursed. We don't want that out of pocket, stay out of pocket.
Right.
So that would be the only concern, but we could certainly look.
I mean, I want to build for the future.
Right, I'll go back and put whatever you guys want. This is what we came up with as saying, okay, the pump station's gone. Here's your opportunity to do this.
I
If you want to scale it back,
aesthetics and all that.
I have no issue with that whatsoever.
I don't want to pay
It's a preference of what council wants.
We're not doing anything that we don't, at this point, by just doing from the 6 feet down, building it for the future, that's the part that's in the ground, everything else can get added to for the future.
Well, why would we want to do that if we have the opportunity for grant money now?
Because I don't think you want an 18-foot house sitting next to your house.
Well, I talked to Johnny today. He's okay with it.
He's not okay.
He called me.
I love Johnny, but I make my decision.
No, I mean, he lives next to it. He's
I
one of the
understand.
residents affected.
He called me down.
You know.
Come on.
He
I got a
told me he showed
22-foot
up.
slide outside my house every time there's a clam fest. And
Well,
that's what it is, baby.
I just
Jump right off
answered
the
the
deck. What do you guys think?
I would like to see it smaller, I would,
Okay.
and I don't know if we need to have something like a public hearing. I mean, because it's going to affect the entire town.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it is-
we're not
we're
hiding
gonna-
from it,
right, We're
obviously,
gonna
yeah.
go and do it, but,
If we go that route,
I
we're
would,
not hiding.
I would prefer to have it smaller.
Kev, what
I
do you
would,
think?
If it's possible.
The thing is, if Dale says that there's a problem with the drainage, correct?
Which would affect the effectiveness.
The effectiveness of the pump, how long before that starts
Something
wearing
to worry
down?
about. I want to do it right.
And I'm
with
just,
all due
you know what I'm
respect,
saying,
I know what you're
that you
saying.
have, either you replace all the piping from the hill
Which is
all the
how
way
much
to the
money?
river,
Right.
okay, and set that clear, where it doesn't get refilled there. And then you could modify the pump to where it would be working where Chris
On a
would
lesser
like to
scale,
have
like you're
it.
saying.
And until that's done, I don't know if you could do it or not.
And the other thing you got to get clarification on, like we talked about, are we going to get covered on this?
Right, now, community development, I mean, if you recall, last year they gave us $183,000 towards the replacement of that pipe going into the station. We've had discussions, I mean, we being Tim and I, where they have talked about allowing us to take out 183 towards our 25% match. So in essence, you could be looking at, say, a $1.2 million station for 100 to 200,000. Or you could be looking at a smaller station if it complies with codes and everything else, and you could be getting, you could definitely cover your 25% in its entirety.
Well, let's do this, if everybody agrees, before we build an 18-foot, whatever. See if you can get a small scale and see if it is approved.
No problem.
And then we'll know exactly what we're talking about. But also want to know the effectiveness of it, like Kevin said.
Sure.
Because I don't
Go
want to,
through this and have to go all
it's
through
going
it
to
again.
tax something, it's going to break, and we do repair.
And you have to add the gate valves.
Yeah, actually they are on there, just they're up further. There's 2 butterfly valves, 2 gate valves. They're not down by the actual outfall itself. I was talking to the designers a bit today, and the head pressure that those pumps are going to push out down that slope and out into the river, they feel that the sand's not going to build up there at all. But it keeps everything from backing up into the station itself.
But the pumps have to run to get rid of rainwater.
Yes.
That's not what we want.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
That's the issue.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So Dale, you don't have to do a whole full-blown, just let us know what the
Yeah.
height's going to be and the effectiveness of it, how much it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's next, our public portion?
Public portion.
Mr. Mandrot?
On 268 Face One thing on North Street. Sonny Vaughn worked on North Street on that line going down from Shore Drive to the river. Some of that piping in there might be still wood. It was.
I have
years
no
ago.
doubt.
He replaced part of it. But that
Probably
might be
shocked when you
caved-
see that.
Most of it's caved in. So
You're right.
that's why you're not getting the flow into the pump.
Right, that's the obstruction.
That's why I said about replacing the piping
Right.
We had problems with that since the
would be the
60s.
best thing first to see how it works out.
But the other thing, Dale, is on Bayside Drive went out for bid. Are you gonna milk the middle of the street down so the water don't run onto the property?
Well, basically,
Talk about
what we're doing is we're actually put a crown into the road. Twofold. We put a crown into the road so all your water coming down the hill doesn't skate across. And we also put a mountable curb in on the residence side, similar to what Washington Avenue has. So this way, we know it's a narrow road. This way, you can still hop over the curb and park out front, kind of straddle the curb, but it also keeps that water out in the road and takes it down the hill.
Like, what about, Exxon put that wall up there, and they put it on the street. Are you gonna move that wall back, because it makes it very narrow there?
No, I know. Well, I got to tell you, putting the curbs in is going to make the road look much narrower too. I had suggested possibly making that a one-way going up the hill because consider the other two was it
Coming down.
yeah, King and Matthews are coming down one way anyway, so you almost create a loop. But we're going to work with the contractor and Exxon just to make sure what we're doing with those blocks are copacetic to everybody.
Yeah.
When you say curbed on, the curb is 18 inches?
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be in front of the house, probably.
No, on the house side, it's
On the
gonna be a
house
roll
side.
curb.
Right,
It's gonna be, yeah.
18 inches in front of the disturbed area that Exxon did.
Yeah.
Right, 18 in, 18 out.
Where Exxon put the wall,
The
they
wall,
put that on the street.
okay.
They didn't go into the ditch, they didn't want to disturb the hill.
Disturb the drainage on that
So
side.
what they did is they took 2.5 feet of the street.
Okay.
So now when you park the car there, you can't, it's tight, tough getting through.
Right.
Now if you put a curb in, it's gonna be a little tougher.
It'll look tighter.
Yeah, oh, it's definitely going to look tighter.
So you're going to have the curb help the drainage go along the mountain.
Well, basically, the curb's going to keep the drainage out into the street,
Right.
regardless of what side it comes down.
Right.
And it's going to keep it off the residents' properties,
And the
because a lot of those
crown-
properties slope down off the road.
But then the portion that they block, can't that be moved and then curb it?
Like directly.
So it does it, and then they'll give you 2.5 feet back.
Right.
There was discussion that the residents were concerned about removing those blocks at one point.
I think you want them back because we're putting the curb up so the whole water doesn't come across.
Yeah, but-
correct?
I mean, theoretically, you can eliminate it, to be honest
The
with you.
problem now, all the water now goes into the Bayview condominium.
Right.
All right.
They get the flood, because there's no drainage on Bayside Drive.
I think you want to remove them, keep the curbs up so the water stays down.
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't come across.
I would rather see the blocks moved away, to be honest.
Got
with
it
you.
blocks and then you have, is that okay?
So now if you're gonna play, we'll run now down to Marie Street or over to.
And around the lake.
Matthew Street.
Yeah.
Right, good run of life.
Actually, you don't need curbs up by my house, because the water runs to the hill.
Runs away, right. Yes.
It runs right into the hill.
Take a look at it.
Matthew King. It's pretty good there.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Mandel.
it.
Arnie Food?
Arnie Pugh, 50 Valley Street. I wanted to ask Mr. Hill if there was a mention of the tool lending library and if there was a discussion on it with the council and mayor. The tool lending library.
Tool lending library. The last we spoke about a tool lending library was between you and I. I've checked into the insurance implications of a lending library on the borough standpoint. The borough may not be able to get involved with a lending situation. If there was a nonprofit organization or another group that were bona fide and had their own insurance to get involved with that, that may be a possibility. The flags went up from our insurance company to say be very, very cautious on getting into a lending situation where you now then have to have tools returned to you. Somebody's going to have to inspect them and make sure they're not damaged when you give them out to someone else. So there's a liability factor that I don't think anybody ever thought of.
Okay.
So if anybody has information on the liability end,
Okay.
particularly the liability end, I'd be more than happy to further discuss that.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll leave this package here. It's, other towns have done it. There is liability issues in here. It's how to start one. And it's just too much information.
Are they New Jersey-based organizations, I hope?
What's that?
They're all over the country.
Yeah, they're all over the country.
It was written
Okay.
by a nonprofit, and the reason we're asking is because when we've gone into.
Ma'am, name and address. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
Maureen Welch, 50 Bella Street, our newswife. The reason we're asking about it specifically is because we and others who have gone into the distribution center, when we're asked about tools, we've been told everything's being allocated to a lending library. So the question is, if there's going to be a library, that's great. I think it's a fantastic idea. But if there isn't going to be a lending library, what will be the disposition of those various tools that have been donated? But as I
So you've been told tools have been set aside for a lending library?
Yes, we have.
Yes.
Yes,
We've
we
heard
have,
this
on a number
for
of
6
cuts.
weeks or 2 months through the Solution Center and also through the distribution center. So what we did was we researched this, got all this information together, and what we'd like to do is to work with you on an ongoing basis to try and make this possible.
Do you have a nonprofit group that's willing to step in if we need? I'm just asking if you have a nonprofit group that's willing to step in and perhaps take that on.
Yeah, we have a request out pending approval with, and we're ready to speak to a couple of others as
Yeah,
well.
and possibly at this time, we could ask BID if they could possibly, if they have a 501c3, if they would be interested in it as part of your organization. Because the town, we think, needs the tools to rebuild.
If you want to email me the information, I'll forward
Sure.
it to the board for their,
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to
You
answer.
can leave
Yeah,
that with
sure.
me.
I mean, it's just, we just want to make it known. I'll leave this with Carolyn. And the other question I had, I didn't have a chance to make copies of this, but it is in reference to the Solution Center and its issues that have been approached to us. And if you could have Carolyn make copies and give it to everybody up here, and then respond back to it. And it's again 2 pages, and it has to do with the Solution Center and going forward.
Okay.
Would you be able to send that electronically too?
We can.
Yeah, we
It's
can.
electronic.
Because a lot of times it's easier to get email.
And
Okay,
some
what we'd
people-
like you to do
Our
is to
experience
read
has been some people have not responded to our various
Yeah.
emails, so we're happy to keep copies as well as leave.
Sure.
Yeah, and can we,
As well as send it
Yeah.
electronically.
and just make a note that we'll ask again in reference to this at the next city council meeting.
And Mr. Hill will be the one responding to them if it's appropriate.
Well, this is addressed to the council, the administrator, and the clerk.
He'll
And the
be,
mayor.
he'll be responding for us.
He will be, but this.
You might want to read it first before
Yeah.
you decide to
Sure.
respond to it.
No problem.
Yeah, because
Because it's
I,
a request of all of you,
Okay.
not just of Mr. Hill, but of all of
We
you.
understand that. Thank you. Raphael?
Raphael Lee, 2 Madison Avenue. This is for Mr. Hill. Could you give me a status on the fence removal?
We're going to have the fence in question, what she's referring to. The fence was rebuilt at Ederly Park after the storm. It was a split rail fence that was put in. Subsequently, Ms. Lee had a survey done and the fence is on her property. I've been told by the Public Works guys that the fence wasn't put in footings, so we're going to have the split rail put back appropriately towards our side of the property.
Okay. Okay. Carla?
I just wanted to inquire about the graffiti. We had our sign repaired, the gold leaf sign at the top of Miller, and we had it reinstalled. We invested money to have it, taken care of. And while the DOT removed graffiti off of the cement wall, which is coming through, they left all the graffiti on the handrails and on all the signs on the bridge, and then the bus stop looks horrendous. It just makes the town look really bad. And we had a lot of success with Ruby Vaughn where it just wipes right off of the metal signs and right off of the handrails, and I know it's a DOT issue, but, I mean, I can't imagine we're gonna leave that bus stop like that, and it's just really bad now for the season. You know, even regardless of the season, it just looks awful, and I really wish we can tend to it rather than waiting for the DOT.
Sure, sure.
Have any volunteers?
Maybe we'll have to get them, because it really needs to be addressed.
What about the guy that did it?
Yeah. Where's he at, Joe?
Where's he at? Well, like I said, the Mon County Prosecutor's Office wants to downgrade
It's
his
not your
charges to
fault.
DPs.
Yeah, well,
Then they want to prosecute him.
we'll write them.
Carla, work on that with, if you can, and see if we can get visual improvement or whatever, okay? Mr. Lane, 11 Central Ave? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's me,
Very good.
actually. I realized what I wanted to ask was for another meeting.
Okay. Dodie,
Yeah, I'm here for the garden club.
can you just name and address, please, for the record?
Cody Tower, 9 South Main Street.
Okay.
And we do not have any water in any of the parks. We just got $2,500 worth of flowers with planting. And we have a little problem with the irrigation systems. And the club members are asking me to find out if there is money budgeted to do the electrical repairs at Veterans.
I can answer that in terms of, we've had this discussion before. The electric in Veterans Park is not just situated at the control panel for the sprinkler system. Right now, the sprinkler system can be operated manually, but that's a whole different scenario, and that takes work. The whole process of the electric in Veterans Park is the panel back by the water needs to be totally replaced, and that's what feeds your current system throughout the whole park. We have monies, yes, through our open space fund and other areas to replace it. Are we going to get it done by next week? I can answer you no, it's not going to be done that quickly. We also have other parks and other sections that all our electric was under 3 to 4 feet of water, and we're getting specs designed right now to replace all that. And it does take time, and we've got to do it the right way. We can't just go in, like some people have done in the past, and piecemeal and try to replace on their own. We can't do that any longer. We have to build smarter and do it right the first time.
I appreciate that. And will any of the parks have water soon? Because that means the containers are also not going to get water. Without water in the parks, we don't have water to water the containers.
Water is separate than electric. You can
And
provide
none of the
water
faucets
out.
are working either. Nothing.
Okay,
The
well,
irrigation systems are not working as well as the faucets, so we can't water anything.
I hear what you're saying on the water end. We'll get the water source checked out, but that has nothing to do with the electric.
Right.
And I don't think, you use the water in the parks to do all the containers along Bay Avenue?
Yes, we do.
Because it's closer to the park.
There's, from the spigots, about 40 gallons. Well, actually, it'd be about 80 gallons 3 times a week in the heat when there's no rain. And we hand carry it around, but we get it out of the faucets. And none of those are working as well as the irrigation systems. I'm working with the sprinkler company, trying to get at least some of them going. But you and I have talked about that, so.
All right, we'll see what we can do to get the
water.
on. Like I said, the electric, unfortunately, we're working on that with the engineer to design what needs to be done. There's certain areas we know with events coming up and everything else, that's a high priority to get that done.
Okay.
We have water at our garden that we can, for a period of time, 2 weeks or whatever, the water, we just turned it on. We already own the garden next to Lusty Lobster. There's a hose there if you want to use it for 2 weeks to get you through a period of time. We're happy to fund that.
Well, thank you. We have other offers too, but like 2 weeks, and we have 6 months to go, our containers have.
Let's see if we can get an answer on it in those 2 weeks.
So if we need to get a faucet going.
Right.
Well, I'm working.
And maybe we can have the DPW.
And then I'm also applying for a Green Communities grant, and I don't know the answers to some of those questions. Do any of you know if this community is a first, second, third, or fourth community forestry management plan? Have you ever heard of that?
None of the top of my head, I don't.
Do you know if our town is Tree City USA Municipal municipality.
Okay, Carla?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the community forestry program, but we're not.
Do you know if we are Sustainable Jersey, non-certified,
No,
registered?
we're not certified. We're
We're
registered,
non,
not certified.
we're non-certified. And Mr. Pepper, are we, in our accounting records, are we a cash basis, modified accrual basis, or other?
We're modified approval.
Thank you. That helps me.
We'll see what we can find out in the 2 weeks on this water issue.
Thank you.
Electric will be a lot longer.
It's just that I want you to know that the flowers are gonna go down.
Yeah, we don't want that,
Because
obviously.
we aren't
Yeah,
trying
we don't want
to.
that. Worst case scenario, we get DPW to assist also.
We would
Going
have
to
that
truck.
hasn't worked in the past, but.
I can, you can try, and I got Mr. Hill manager.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Melissa and John?
John McAleer, 52 Barbary Avenue. A couple of questions related to flood control mitigation, some things that were brought up this evening. The assertion was made, and correct me if I misunderstood, that by fighting the V-zone, that would prevent people from getting ICC funds. Did I understand that correctly?
Absolutely not.
Okay. What then was said, if you could repeat?
By not adopting those ABFE maps, that could prohibit people from getting ICC money. That came right from the DEP.
Okay, and why is that? How is that? Because the DEP doesn't control ICC funds. The insurance companies do in the NFIP.
Yeah, but every state has an NFIP representative, which the DEP is for the state of New Jersey.
Okay.
So they actually have the say in the state.
They're like the gatekeeper.
Yes.
Is this in writing someplace saying if you, not adopting it, but if you fight this,
No.
we will not give residents their ICC
No, it's not.
funds?
It's not.
So then we should probably get a straight answer in writing from somebody.
But listen, you're missing the whole point here. There's no sense in fighting the advisory maps because that's all they are is advisory.
Okay, then my lead, that is a good lead into my next question. What is the process by which we challenge the V-zone or the elevations, if we so choose, when it comes time to do so? When is that time? What is the process? And have we consulted with council on how we will challenge it if we decide to challenge it?
Well, if you remember in 2009, when those maps came out, it's the same process. They roll them out, they introduce them. There's a public comment period. They go back and they have revisions. I believe we actually went on and fought some of the V-zone limits because they brought them back, they rolled them out closer towards Bay. I don't believe they listened to us, but we did fight it. They extended the
where the
A,
line was.
right, through the actual boundary. They brought the A back further to the shore, past the center line. We could certainly fight it at that time, but that would be the appropriate time to weigh in and say, listen, these are the maps that they're going to go by. Right now, these advisory maps aren't based on rhyme or reason. These advisory maps are based on basically giving people a chance to build to something. And they know they're conservative. They know they weren't based on hard data that they had. They tried to get something out quickly after the storm that they were in the process of.
I understand all that. My concern is that we wait and wait and wait, and then we're in a mad scramble. And for us to put it into hard numbers as to why the V-zone is very important to us, at the last mayor's town meeting, I had a conversation with Jeffrey Woodward from FEMA, who's the NFIP representative. We sat down and we talked about how everybody's situation is going to be a little different because everybody's house is a little different.
Yep,
But we talked
actuarials.
about real numbers, and I said, where are the actuarial tables? He said, they haven't been developed yet. However, FEMA has come up with a program by which they can give us reasonably accurate numbers. If my house, which has been elevated, but now again is going to be 2 feet below the new base flood elevation, if these are adopted, if it remains in an AE zone, if they roll back the V zone, I'm looking at about $3,700 a year in flood insurance, which is about $1,400 more than what I have right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Still a big hit.
It stings.
Yeah, it's still a big hit, there's no
but it's
doubt.
doable. If it remains a velocity zone, if I'm 2 feet below, it's $9,600 a year. If I'm 3 feet below, it's $11,000 a year. For every foot below that, I'm looking at about another $1,400.
I agree with you, the A is much easier.
Now, to that, my question is the community rating system. A few years ago, before we elevated our home, I found out about its existence. It seems to be a pretty Byzantine process. There There are a lot of steps involved. However, I understand that participation in that affects the insurance rates for everybody in the town.
Correct.
At that time, the floodplain manager, who I realized was not you, told me, we do not participate in that. My question is, why not? And what are our plans to participate in it? What is the process by which we apply? Because I understand that it's a multi-step program, and you get points for every step along the way, including just filling out the paperwork and apply.
Absolutely, just getting into the system gives you points.
Right, so are we getting into the system? If not, why not, and when are we?
All right, you have many questions there.
Yes, I know.
No, it's
But
all
it's
good.
all kind of like, why aren't we there?
Right, it's all good.
And what's going to happen?
The borough's talked about the community rating system for years. For one reason or another, it was never implemented. All right, I can tell you this: we have applied. I have personally applied with Mr. Hill. All right, we are in the process right now of getting feedback from FEMA and the state. The feedback we've gotten so far is that okay, they acknowledge receipt of our letter, of our application, I should say. They are going to come into town and do an audit of files and physical property. Okay, they will decide then if they're even going to let us into the system, depending on how good our records were. You know, if we're going with best practices, so on and so forth. Then once they say yes, you're in the system, then we can start doing those points and start tallying up points to get better ratings. So we're in the, I guess to give you a status, we're in the application process right now.
Okay. And when do we expect to hear about movement on that?
I was hoping to hear from them already. They said it's going to take a little while just because of everything going on. I could reach out to them again within the next week and just kind of get a status.
That would be good.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Kim Storfer? Okay. Lori Nibble? Ms. Nibble?
Lori Nibble, 32 Karen's Park. I have something an issue I want to raise, but before I do that, I want to, Carolyn, I think your ordinance that you guys introduced, the 0137, doesn't really say what you want it to say. It actually says that
The ordinance, the noise?
it says that the noise, that it's not accepted. At least that's what I read. So I think you might want to.
13107? Oh, 13-7.
My problem is that at Paradise Park, the homeowners there are not at present being allowed to repair their homes, being allowed to rebuild, and this is having an impact on many, many, many levels, including the police department telling us that we're not allowed to go into our homes because it's private property. We are not eligible for grant monies from Hope Islands because we're not repairing our homes. The Solution Center is not providing us with assistance because we're not repairing our homes, we're not going back to our homes. And the big problem is that these actions have been taken outside of the process of law. Like, we have not had any eviction or any process going through landlord tenants court. Our tenancies are still valid, are still in place. We still own our homes are not abandoned. And we, of course, are pursuing this through civil litigation, as we've been told by everybody in town who we need to talk to. But I just would like to have the town take another look at sort of the stances they're taking based on the unilateral moves that have been made by the developer in vacating our tenancies and treating our homes as abandoned and not allowing us to rebuild or repair and not returning utilities to the property. I made an open public records request to the police department, asking them for a copy of the letter saying that the park was closed, or that this was now private property, something that they're enforcing, and I was told that there were no records that met my requests. And there are a lot of homeowners in that community, 48 homeowners. All of us are not being allowed to rebuild, all of us are being treated like outsiders, and we're not being given assistance or help through any of the programs that are coming through the town. And I just wanted to say my piece.
Okay, Bruce.
I think that
No, I think Bruce answered first.
Yeah, I mean, it's ongoing litigation, so. Do we have a document that we can share with Ms. Dibble, of the property owner closing the park?
I'm not aware of any. I mean, I know I do have a small file on this, I can look through that
Okay, yeah,
and see if I have
something.
anything.
Carolyn, did you get any notices?
I've already gone through my documents with Ms. Dibble. She's referring to as a document that the police department allegedly told her they had.
Okay, so it's a document you want that they never even exist. So we have it's a document you're saying that someone told you they have it.
Well, Officer Roth told me that there was a document that he had seen, which is why he was going to enforce a criminal trespass if I returned to my home.
I don't want to jam you
And
up
I've
because
made
it's
a
ongoing
request for a
litigation.
copy of it.
The simple fact is this, Ms. Dibble has been given the appropriate information to follow. I don't believe she's followed it.
Like a course of action?
I've talked to her several times, during which time she's misrepresented what she actually wants to do, not what she's doing. She's taken, she doesn't want to follow the course of action she was given.
Now, the course
She
of
wants to
action
get the
is a
police
legal
department
course
involved.
Correct?
Involved in a civil matter.
Which I agree we can't be involved in.
Yes.
But you've given her the legal action.
Yes, I
or
have.
course of action to take.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Did you get a legal
Actually,
course of action to take, Mr.
Lockouts and self-help evictions are a criminal.
It does not fall, this does not fall into those statutes. Again, she's trying to circumvent the legal system, and she wants us to proceed.
To be the facilitator of it?
Yes. It's that simple. Okay. And I won't deal with it anymore.
If Mr. Padula has a document he can give you, other than something you've already seen or have, he will give it to you. I know there's ongoing litigation, so I'm not really speaking to it and getting drawn into another 10-year legal battle. So anything that we can give you, we will.
Okay.
And I believe the chief has represented the town well, saying he's giving you a course of action, take legally. Okay? Have a good night, folks. Motion to close. Oh, you going back to work? Yeah. 9 a.m.